Hello, I'm Michael Ridley, Senior Director of Product Marketing at Macrometa. This week, I sat down with Wayne Byrne, CEO of Tangle.io, and we talked about the partnership between Tangle and Macrometa, Tangle's product, and Wayne's philosophy on the low-code, no-code movement. If you haven't seen that video, I recommend watching it first for context. Now, I'm excited to share a concept video that Wayne recorded that gives a glimpse of what the combination of Macrometa and Tangle technologies might look like. We are not announcing any products today, but I hope this will whet your appetite, and we look forward to talking more about this in the coming months. Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to build a simple dashboard using a combination of Tangle and the Macrometa GDN. You can see here we have a nice looking dashboard streaming data real time into all these charts. If I jump over here into the Macrometa console, you can see the raw data that's streaming in. What we're doing is we're aggregating that data by a time window, and then we're rendering this chart. First thing I want to do is go ahead and set up a collection in here that's going to mirror the collection over in Macrometa to give us some metadata. So we already have a collection in Macrometa called server logs, which is filling up here. We want another one that's going to be the aggregate. We're going to call that group data. So all I need to do is go into Tangle here and make a new page in a table. A table can represent either a stream or a collection. I'm going to call this grouped logs. And now we're going to set up some fields on it. You can see that there's some data already streaming in from a worker I already had set up. So we want a time field, which is a timestamp. We want a response status, which is just text. A URL field. We want the body size of these incoming logs, which is going to be a number. The geo country, where it's coming from. And then finally, the time elapsed, which is also a number. Okay, now we have this set up. You can see that the data is streaming in here. Next thing we need to do is set up a stream worker that's going to aggregate this data from the logs, pour it in here, and then allow us to make a dashboard. Okay, so I'm now going to set up a new stream worker. You can see I've got a couple in here already. I'm going to call this grouped data. I hit edit stream here. I get the Studio Designer. I'm going to jump to isometric layout, which is a little nicer looking. So for this kind of aggregation, I really only need a few steps. First off, I'm going to drag on create source here. Zoom in a little. So give it a title, connect to logs stream. I'm going to call this grouped logs. Source type is database. Collection here is grouped logs. You see that's pulling from the API. Collection type is doc. Replication is going to be global. Map type is going to be JSON. Then for the parameters, I'm not going to define them for this one. I'm actually just going to get them from this particular collection. Next up, we're going to aggregate it by a time window. So group logs by time window Data source in this case is going to be the server logs I just defined. I want it to run every 3 seconds and seconds as the unit there. Connect it up. Then finally, we're going to aggregate the data out to the stream, which basically means that the dashboard can pick it up and render it in real time. So connect these guys up. All right, so my data source now is going to be the stream window. The target is going to be grouped logs. That's the collection I made a moment ago. And now we're going to set up these columns. Okay, so first I want the timestamp. I want to get the max timestamp. Then I want the response status. I'm not going to aggregate that one. Or the URL. I'm going to get the sum of the body size. I'm going to get the geo country. Then I want the sum of time elapsed. And then finally I want to get a count of, let's say, the geo country. And then finally we're going to add some groupings here. I'm going to want 3 of them. I'm going to group by the response status, URL, and the geo country. And that's basically it. Now my stream worker is ready to go. Back in the main app, if I open up this stream worker, sure enough, you can see it's gone ahead and created this code for me. It's pulled in the time batch, number of seconds, all of the columns and everything that I wanted. Then I just click Publish Stream Worker, and it gets deployed off to the GDN. If I go have a look here, you can see that it's in place. Also, collection-wise, we have the group logs collection set up, and it is streaming data. Now you can see the data is streaming into my table. I'm going to go in and make a dashboard replicating what we showed at step 1. Click New Page. This time I'm going to go blank. I call this New Dashboard. And now we're going to drag on all of those charts you saw just a moment ago. I'm going to start with a line chart. I'm going to call this response count by status code. I'm going to choose the group logs collection that we set up. Set a couple of basic values initially, like light theme, don't want to show labels. All right, great. Now we're into the detail. So from here, I want a bar chart. I'm going to group it by the timestamp. I'm going to get a sum of the total. There you go, you can see it started rendering there. I'm going to also slice by the status, and then I'm going to enable a stream so it will update in real time. Next up, we're going to do latency by status code. So I hit add card. Same thing, choose group logs like before. Color palette, light. Don't want to show labels here. This time we're going to do a multi-line chart. Group by the timestamp again. Metric this time is going to be the time elapsed for every one of those calls. But we got to break it up by the status code. There we go. And again, I'm going to enable a stream. Let's make another one of these. This is going to be response size by URL. Again, choose group logs. Okay, this is going to be a line chart as well. Group by the timestamp. Metric this time is all about the response size. Slicing this time by the URL. Again, enable stream. So we get this real-time flow. I can just drag these cards around. Make this a little smaller. All right, we are nearly done. Make these a little higher so we can see the time. Next up, we want some horizontal bar charts. So drag on a card, populate with group logs. This time it's going to be the top URLs. Okay. This one's going to be a lot simpler because we're not doing a time series for this one. This is just going to be a horizontal bar. It's going to be grouped by URL. And the metric is going to be, let's say, the sum of the total. All right. There you go. Just drag this guy over here. The other thing I can do if I want to see my data a little bit more recently is I can reduce the number here so that it's just going to be showing me the most recent 50 records as time progresses. Finally, we're going to make a donut chart. Group logs. It's going to be the ratio by status code. All right. Same as before, we want the light theme. I'll leave the labels for now. This is going to be a donut. We could do a pie as well. Going to group it by response status, and my metric this time I'm going to see the total of the size. All right, I wanted this by percentage though, so I'm actually going to make this a percentage value. Then if we wanted to get fancy, we can even enable outside labels. And again, if I go back, limit to just the most recent records here. Pie, donut. This also works as a bar chart, but donut looks the best in my opinion. Close this, and there we go. We have a real-time dashboard built in a few minutes, streaming data from the GDN. Thank you.